Hey guys, Stephen here back with another video on Erling Haaland Day. And of course, because it's Erling Haaland Day, it had to be a Mr. Ahsan Naeem Day too. Ahsan, we signed him. How you doing, my friend? Are you good? Are you happy? Are you excited?
Like I just said to you off air, I didn't really, even after they announced it, it was really hard to believe it. Like it took seeing him doing the interview, seeing him with Cheeky signing that fake piece of paper to go,
yeah, yeah.
wow,
Let's just got some like drinks
we've
holder
got
on it or
him.
something like that. That piece of
Yeah,
paper.
exactly.
I wonder if that's always there, the same piece of paper. They just have it lying around just for fake contract signings. You'll never know. Thank you to everyone for waiting, by the way. I'm literally not. It's not my fault. People. I'm learning to drive. Pathetic. I know I'm 36 years old, but either way, the instructor was late, so it's not my fault. So there we go. So we're here now anyway. But thank you for waiting, everyone. It's good to see so many people. And of course, this is Haaland Day, and as Asan just said, it does feel like a dream, doesn't it, man? It really does. And like for me, going through all the content today, it felt a bit like Christmas unwrapping presents. You know, seeing different photos and seeing him in different training tops and seeing him walk around and photos. I'll put it. It's a very simple question. Is this possibly the most exciting signing in Manchester City's history?
I think it's probably bigger than that. I think it's probably the
It's
biggest
massive.
transfer into the Premier League. Gary Lineker did that tweet earlier this morning, which I agree with, that we discussed on our pod as well. That this is the biggest transfer into the Premier League in terms of profile, in terms of the fact that Barcelona wanted him, Real Madrid wanted him, Bayern Munich wanted him, Paris Saint-Germain wanted him, and it was just a question of where he chose. And the fact that he's chosen City, it makes it the biggest transfer in I think in the league's history. I don't think, we said on our pod maybe Hazard kind of compares, but he doesn't, because he wasn't, like, I think generational gets bandied about a lot, but it's the whole
I
idea
think
for
I
me,
think Haaland's at a
generational.
different level than Hazard was at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think that's.
yeah,
I'm not trying to play Hazard down, but he was very much like he'd had a breakthrough season or two. Then this guy's been scoring just one goal a game for 3 or 4 years now. It's like everyone
yeah,
in the world wanted him. Everyone wanted Hazard too, but I feel like this is a bigger profile, and it might be just because
yeah.
social media is bigger now. I don't know, but either way, in terms of pure PR and energy, I feel like this is bigger than Hazard. I would say. There's been big signings, hasn't there? But like this is different because it's the next big thing, isn't it? I suppose. Like we can't
Yeah.
ignore some massive signings into the Premier League. Like I think of people like when United signed Varane and like Shevchenko and all that kind of stuff for Chelsea. But this, it does feel different, doesn't it? Like it feels.
It is
Like,
different.
is it the Madrid angle? The fact that we've essentially tipped Madrid and Barcelona to it. Is it that?
I think there's an element of the fact that you've fought off all the competition, but I just think that actually at the root of it, it's about the player. It's about the fact that I think that in a decade you'll look back at Erling Haaland. He will be the preeminent number nine of the decade just gone, and so it's purely about his talent, his ability, the impact that he will have undoubtedly, not just on City, but on the Premier League. I think that's the thing that,
I agree. I actually agree.
it's slowly sinking in for me that obviously it's huge for City. Obviously, it's the biggest signing in the club's history. But I think that wider than that, the impact that he'll have on the league in the next 2 or 3 years minimum will be, just enormous. I don't think people fully get how good he is.
I'm
I
exactly.
think that
I agree so much, mate. So much. So much.
it's not just the numbers. It's like the kid is unplayable. I think we did a video once, and certainly I've said it on our podcasts that you know the original Ronaldo. That's the nearest comparison I can
Well, I
think
mean,
of to make in
statistically, it is
terms
as
of
well. I
players.
mean, obviously, his game's
Yeah,
slightly different, but he's that same level of brilliance where you like
yeah,
every time the ball's attracted to players of his quality, isn't it? It is like they're magnetic and like everything goes through them because it's just the way that they are. I don't know, something about them drags people, the football towards them. And I mean, I actually agree. I do. I think the way that I would say Pep and to fair Klopp's helped to get to that level as well. The way that this past generation has redefined what takes it to win the league, in terms of points and
yeah,
quality. I think Haaland's going to redefine what it takes to be a great goal scorer in the Premier League, and I honestly believe that. I think that we look at a 32 goal record in the Premier League, and when you look around the rest of the world now, that's relatively low. It is, and obviously because the Premier League's so good, but that is low. You look what Ronaldo and Messi did over in La Liga. You look what Lewandowski's doing in Germany, and 32 is. I mean, they would look at those players like Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski. They'd go, that's all right. It's obviously very good, but I honestly believe he could, given this team, the quality of this team, and this super team that we become, I think he could smash it. I honestly believe he could change. It depends on his fitness, but I think you're right. I think we're going to look back in many years from now and be like, well, this before Haaland and after Haaland, and I can't prove that, but like it feels that way, doesn't it? Am I exaggerating?
Absolutely, no, not at all. I think that I keep coming back to this idea that so Haaland has arrived here at this age with this record, with the ability that he's got. He's about to be coached by Pep Guardiola, right? So you take arguably the best young talent in the world, you give him to Pep, you put him in this team with the army of creative players that he'll have around him. I expect him to go to another level. And when you're looking at a guy who's going a goal a game now, I've got no idea what that other level will be. But it's certainly, I think that all the chit chat about like, oh, but is he going to adapt? How will he fit into City's team? And forget it, man. The lad could go and stand on the edge of the opposition penalty area for 90 minutes.
He's scoring 25,
He'll score
30
2-3 goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
No question.
The thing is now is like people are presuming he's just going to carry on his one goal a game, which he probably will do, and that's phenomenal. But people are underestimating there's a real chance that he gets more than that. And I think people are underestimating that, and that's not because it's not because he's going to improve loads. It's more because the quality of the chances he's going to get. Like there's no team in the world that creates the sort of chances that he thrives off more than Manchester City. How many times have we seen, Ahsan, and everyone else watching this video, a ball across the area has been missed by 5'7" Bernardo or Phil Foden simply because they're not strikers, so they don't react. They're not as fast and they're not as big. If you are literally 7-8 inches taller than someone, that is that much of a difference. Like they're going to get onto that.
Absolutely.
And he's already faster, so he'll be getting onto all these little crosses that we go, where was someone? Or the amount of times, how often do we see City do that thing where Mahrez or Grealish or whatever, they cut inside and they dink it across to the back post? Like we do that all the time. We become cross-Chester City. Like if we do that, Haaland's getting 3 or 4 chances a game, and he doesn't waste chances, does he? So this is the difference. We're going to have moments like that we couldn't capitalise on in this system. Like so, as you're right, he can just stand in the area and he's going to score goals. Yeah. And there's a real chance that, like, look, I'm not a betting man, but I put a bet on the first time in my life of him scoring 40 plus goals in the Premier League. And that sounds crazy.
I can see that.
But
in a 38 game season, I can see that.
And if I do, I win $5,000 for that. And I've only put £20 on. So, like, I was like, I am not ignoring that. If he stays fit and he plays 35 games, I think he's doing it. 35 games, I think all it take him. Because he's going to have a spells where he gets 3 hat-tricks in a month. And I believe that. I actually believe that. And I know because we already win 5-0 on in games. And imagine those games where we're battering 5-0 and he's on the pitch still. He's getting his 3rd and 4th. You know what I mean? I don't know, mate. I think
everybody will get better. Everybody will get better around him as well. I think that we underestimate how much having Haaland as a focal point will attract defenders to him, and that will leave spaces. It will be very, City are already a relatively unmanageable team from an opposition point of view. If you look at interviews with defenders in the last 2 or 3 years, you look at interviews with players after games, after they've played City, and they talk about it's horrible. It's really hard to get the ball. It's really hard to manage how City play. And all of that is happening without like a real focal point. And I think that that's the other thing where, I'm not saying that for me, this is not blue tinted specs. It's not an exaggeration. Like, there's absolutely no comparison with the false 9 and what will happen with Haaland. Because firstly, like City the idea of the false 9, it's not really like that. Oftentimes, whoever plays as the focal point will play on the shoulder of the last defender. Of course, like everybody gets involved in the build-up, but that's natural. That's, that's when the team moves, it moves as a team backwards and forwards. That's really normal. But the reality is that Erling Haaland is a guy who will thrive off the football in and around the penalty area in a way that we don't have a single player who thrives like that. And we've been the top scorers more or less the last 2 seasons, won the last 2 titles. I mean, it's, I don't want to say it's curtains for the rest of the league, but it's curtains for the rest of the league.
And the thing is, like, as you said then, he's the kind of person who thrives off being around the area. And there's literally no team in world football that is better at being around the area consistently than Manchester City. And, like, once again, like, you look at people like, I don't know, like Grealish this season, and the consensus is that maybe he didn't have the standout season that some hope for. But then you see the stats at the end of the season, it's like, actually, he was like, the second or third highest chance created in the Premier League or something like that. And you're like, well, imagine when Haaland's there, all of a sudden he gets another 5-10 assists, and then De Bruyne starts crossing a bit more because he realises there, like, it doesn't even have to improve, and he's going to improve to score a shit ton of goal. That's what's scary for me. That's what makes it so exciting, because he's going to get better. I mean, at the same time, I don't think there's anything Guardiola could teach, or anyone at Man City could teach Haaland about scoring goals. He's clearly a fucking like freak that way. But what they will improve is his understanding of where to be with his team. They will improve his touch and all that kind of stuff, and they will improve his link-up play. But he's already got that, like, that inherent ability. We just needed to feed him. So when we talk about adapting to the team, he could play fucking shite and get a hat-trick, and that's literally all that matters, 100%. Isn't it? And that's 100%. What makes it so exciting. There's a few super chats. Go for it quickly.
He doesn't need... he's not a player who needs to touch the ball every 5 minutes in a game. Do you know what I mean? Haaland is a guy who really, he's there to finish the chances, right? And something that I feel, again, it's something that we've gotten so used to that it's going to be a hard adaptation the other way, is that we're used to missing chances. We're so used to creating, we're so used to having the ball in the penalty area and just not being able to finish. Yeah, it's like a standard thing for City. We just
at the highest level, Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final, and we weren't even that surprised to miss a fucking that we didn't win 5-1. You know what I mean? But that's normalised, and that's going to change.
And now we've got a guy who just will kill it.
Oh, it's honestly, I feel like it's funny because I'm looking around and seeing some people, and it's always the fans of other teams, and I think some of our fans are being sucked into it, like this whole like, what if he doesn't adapt thing? Like, there's nothing about him whatsoever by any category that suggests he won't adapt. Like, there's literally nothing to suggest that. It's just wishful thinking. And this idea, like, oh yeah, because the midfielder, so like he's different. Look, if you get him chances, it doesn't matter if he understands the Premier League or not. If you put him chances, he's going to score goals. That stuff doesn't change, And like, you get his overall game get better, but like, he's going to score regardless of how well he plays, because
he's already got world-class movement. I think that you don't get the volumes of goals that he scored without having the right movement. Knowing when to be where, when to make the run, all of those things. He already has them. This isn't respectfully, right? This ain't Lukaku. It's a whole other level from strikers like that. This is a guy who at 20, 21 years old is already arguably the best number 9 in the world.
It's him or Lewandowski, and no one would argue that. That's the crazy thing. It's literally already. And that's mad. Exactly. Kane, one of those three. It's one of those three, but no one questions it. If someone said, "Hey, Haaland," you'd be like, "I might not agree, but you could be right at the same time." So he's already in that conversation, and like people like Lukaku, as much as at one point got rid of him, he's not that level. Even I know that he's not even close. We're talking about once again someone who's going to be an all-time legend of the game. Like in the way that we talk about Ronaldo. He's from that post generation of strikers that score 50 goals now, not 30, and that's what he's from. I'm going to quickly get through a few super chats if that's all right, mate, quickly. I want to say thank you to Paul Moss, who's become a member. Paul Moss, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. Scott put, favourite part of the interview is where the interviewer asked him if he watches City games and imagines himself at the end of crosses, and he got nothing but smiles. I love that. He's like, yeah, of course I do. And Scott, the general demeanour of a young boy who didn't want to look too giddy and who clearly was waiting for this moment. I loved it. And I thought there was a warmth there, which was interesting. People make it out as if he's like relatively cold. Like, he's an intelligent young lad. He's quite playful. I liked it. And you're actually bob on, Scott. Rohan Mill said, this feels different because this is not a desperate attempt to catch anyone. We've been building for this for the past 3 years. Exactly. He's right, isn't he? Like, I mean, this is 100%. Not, this is planned and organised, and this isn't desperation. Spot on. As well, Darcy said, thank you so much, Darcy said, Stephen, I'm not sure if Haaland will be able to break the single record of 32 goals, since he'll probably be protected quite a bit by Pep. What do you think? I get where that comes from, but what I've noticed is that if Pep has a favourite, he plays them anyway every week. So and so that's why I actually think Guardiola is minimum risk averse. Sorry, he takes less chances with a team, and if Haaland's the man, Haaland will play. That's how I feel, and because he's one point, Jesus didn't play from like January to just like April, did he? Something like that. It was crazy.
No. I think the other thing is that the idea of protecting him, I think probably you're more likely to see a situation where some games he plays an hour, he plays 70 minutes, the game's won.
Yeah.
Go sit down. Alvarez can have a run out for 20 minutes.
And at that point, it means we're already winning 2-3-0 and he's already scored a couple of
goals. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
He's done his job.
The games that are won, he can come off and he'll get those rests. And the fact they brought Alvarez in, depending upon how he adapts in pre-season, but I have huge confidence that he adapts relatively quickly as well.
Yeah, same. I get that impression as well for some reason. I feel like he's just right. He's just right. You know, something sense feels right for a player.
Mentality, like I think that's the thing that players can have talent, but like, what's the mentality? And I think that you look at Haaland, you look at Alvarez, I feel as though there's two guys there who have the right mentality. They want to learn, they want to develop, they want to get better. They will work fucking hard. Simple. And if they work hard, they will improve and they will make an impact on the team. And that's, you know, that's the intangible for me. The intangibles are not like, you know, there's loads of players with loads of talent, loads of technical ability, loads of players that can finish. The intangibles are what take you from great to incredible. And I wonder with both of those guys whether I think Haaland is already at incredible. And I'm not trying to talk Alvarez up, but I just think that this is the right moment. It's the right environment. It's the right team for a guy like that to come into, because he's not going to be
player of the year, mate. We've signed a South American player of the year. Like, South America has produced some of the greatest players of all time. That's how good he is, and I think we'd be much more excited collectively if Haaland wasn't here. It's just so happened he's been overshadowed by possibly the greatest forward in the world currently. You know, but Alvarez is a superstar potentially, and that's not even us trying to hype up. You're right, you're just talking facts. If you sign anyone who's won player of the year somewhere, you know, like, they're exciting, and especially when it comes from the continent of South America, given all that talent there, you know, so. Yeah, Caleb, by the way, quickly also said, Ste Ahsan all in for Bellingham next season. What do you reckon, man?
You know what? I was quite... I didn't think we'd do Haaland. I just didn't think we'd do it. I didn't think that we would... I don't know. I just... Maybe
I understand that. Yeah, I've been...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt a bit like, I'm not convinced that we do this. And then we did it. I didn't think that we'd spend 100 million on Grealish, and then we did it. So for me, sat here now, sure, like, if they want Bellingham, they will push the boat out for him, and they will hope that they can get him. And actually, having Haaland here, I think if you want Bellingham, you have a guy that has a close relationship to him. They played well together. They linked up well. They're obviously really good mates.
Yeah,
Haaland can sell being at City better than anybody will be able to.
Haaland would choose. Bellingham would choose City like that. I'm almost certain. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he would. It just feels. Yeah, I don't. Look, you've got all these England teammates there. You've got Foden. You know, you've got obviously Haaland. You'll know people like Stones, Walker, Sterling, and all that. Presuming, hopefully, he's still here. Like, I don't think he would. I don't think it's a question about Bellingham wanting to come to City personally. I think it's more just whether we do. And if you City,
you don't think, for example, that Liverpool would have a chance? You don't think that I can see City and Liverpool going head to head for Bellingham. I don't think Madrid will.
No, they've got a chance, but I think City could pip him. I think they would pip him personally. But I guess I'm basing it on where the clubs would be, and I think the City are better in a year now than they are currently because of Haaland and because of the squad depth that we'll get onto in a minute actually, but the potential signings that are coming in. So I don't know. Actually, depends if maybe Calvin Phillips is, if we do sign him, maybe the squad is, maybe they're like, well, not that we don't need it because he didn't play, but maybe they're like, there isn't the space yet and they don't go, who knows. So Liverpool definitely have a chance because Bellingham fits their system really well, but I don't know, man, that'd be interesting, but I think
it might be too rich for Liverpool. Okay. That's my feeling, that I can, if Bellingham if his progress and his development goes up another level, then you'd expect next summer that Dortmund, without a release clause, gets stupid and say, well, if Grealish went for 100, we want 125, 130 for.
They'll absolutely ask that, and they've gotten that crazy money before for from Dembele, for Sancho, and Haaland was exactly nothing, so they've got a precedent of getting a lot of money, so of course they're going to ask and unfortunately we have set a precedent with Grealish, so we can't really deny it, unfortunately. So they will ask that. I don't think Liverpool will go there. I actually agree in terms of maybe that keeps them out. I don't know. We'll have to see, but we might be looking in a year and going, we don't even need, I don't know. We might get lucky and McAtee might go to Brighton and actually have a breakout season where he scores 15 goals, for Graham Potter's Brighton, and we all might be going, no, we just want him. So I guess football moves so quickly, doesn't it? I didn't think we'd ever be sat here talking about Haaland, and look where we are now, and I never thought we'd be going for an actual left back. We are going for a left back, so it shows how fucking much things can change, man. But I love it. Louis said Haaland in, Alvarez and others on the way, and I've got Glastonbury Fest on the horizon. Life couldn't be better right now. Louis, I'm very happy for you, man. You are living the good life there. Absolutely make the most of it. And Jerry as well said the two goats. Thank you so much, Jerry. In City fandom chatting transfers doesn't get any better than that. Haaland is home. Let's fucking go. Haaland is home. He's home. That means a lot, doesn't it? That angle, because you haven't talked about that angle yet. Put it into words. What does it mean in your opinion?
So I think that when you talk about players arriving, adapting, how they fit into the fabric and the culture of the club, I think that's really important to their short to medium term success. Mm-hmm. And I think that Haaland said in his interview, it feels a little bit like coming home. I know the club. And what that means is he's been to the Etihad a lot. He knows, behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? He's not arriving in a new environment where he's got to learn who does what, how to adapt, how to speak to people, who he needs to speak to. That
makes a difference, doesn't it? It makes a massive difference. The culture as well, the language, knowing people and players, and knowing that he's weird. I know it sounds really weird, but he's still only a little boy in football terms, and he's a big lad, but he's a little boy. And knowing that his dad is actually popular there, if you went somewhere, any job, and it turns out your parents were really popular there too, that makes you feel comfortable because it's your dad's home. Exactly. That stuff matters. That absolutely matters. He's not gonna feel any nerves about going there because there's so many people around him that he knows and cares about have positive feelings about the place. So
definitely.
It's home, we know he's been at the ground, we know he's watched games, we know he has a immense soft spot for the club, and and he's going to one point, he's going to score a goal. Maybe it might take him a while to feel like he's earned it, but he's one point he's going to score a goal and he's going to tap his badge, and we know he's going to care about it. And I can't wait for that, because we're going to be like, that is genuine. He's intelligent enough to realize after what my dad's done, and that will mean so much to him, won't it? That feeling.
And I think there'll be like a. I know there's a lot of chat about he's got a release clause, and I know that the Spanish media are a little bit like, La Liga followers are just a bit like, oh, well, he's going to City to develop for 2 years and then he's coming to Madrid.
They've had a big pride hit, haven't they, this summer, La Liga? Last 2 or 3 years, their pride, Ronaldo, Messi gone, Barca fucking renting the pitch out to fans because they're skin now, Mbappe going no, Haaland going no. Their pride's low. So this helps those stories, doesn't it? That kind of stuff.
Definitely. But my feeling is that, again, when you talk about the intangibles, they apply to players as well, that, the bond that Aguero or David Silva or Vincent Kompany had with City, they probably, when they arrived at City, they didn't think they were going to have that bond. But in the end, none of those players really wanted to leave, and they all stayed for a really long time. And I think that I personally can see the same thing, because look, imagine his debut. Imagine his first goal, right? Imagine when the songs start to go around the stadium. Imagine the kind of the passion with which he'll be loved by City supporters. Yeah, how he will feel because his dad played there. The roots of their connection with Manchester City are really deep. So if you've got Guardiola, if you're winning titles every year, I think that, and this is the other thing, I think that Haaland is the first player to come to City where I feel as though he can win the Ballon d'Or here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I absolutely think he can win the Ballon d'Or here. I think that the
timing's perfect as well. The quality and the timing.
I'd like to know what the odds are for next year, but I think that he can fulfill all of his ambitions at Manchester City. He can retire to Madrid at 30. Do you know what I mean? He can do it nearly a decade at City, and then at 30 go and play in Spain if he wants to. And none of that is to say that
I saw 16-1 there. I've seen a 16-1
on the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Right? I'm having a nibble.
I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's on gambling. I just googled it. It's on some blog, so I might be wrong there. But you're right. You're absolutely right. And like, I guess as well, like when I think about his personality, I've watched interviews with him. He's got quite a dry sense of humour. I mean, Manx, that suits Manx. We are self-deprecating. He's a bit awkward, and which I quite like. The weather's not going to bother him. He's from Norway. He lived in Germany. That's not exactly fucking the fucking Sahara, is it? He's not craving hot weather. I can imagine. I'm sure it's nice, but. He was born in Leeds, I think he was born in. He lived in Manchester at one point. He's from Norway. All his life. Look, the weather. He's very kind of like Northern European, so he's obviously not like asked about a bit of rain every now and then because he lived in the snow, So like, there's no problem there.
And there's a culture thing as well. Look, you look at, for example, you look at a club like Real Madrid, right, and you look at their dressing room, and you go, even if Haaland speaks pretty good Spanish, right? Look at the makeup of that dressing room. You've got a very French core now. You look at Tchouaméni going in there. You've got Camavinga there. You've got Benzema there. Yeah, I think Real Madrid will sign the lad Unkulu from Red Bull next summer. They've been linked with him quite heavily, and I can see them doing that deal because obviously they're building a core of French players there. And I think that's you. On the flip side, you look at the City dressing room, and from where will Haaland feel more at home? I can see him feeling much more at home at City with Foden, with Grealish, with KDB. Different types of personalities, but culturally very similar to him. And I think that will also play its part, not just now, but in the future when you begin to talk about like whether he would or he wouldn't leave. Like, Phil Foden's going to be the best attacking midfielder in the world in the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So, and Foden ain't going anywhere. So Haaland is going to be playing with the best in the world at City. So, I'm really very, very relaxed about the length of his stay at City.
Look, ladies of Manchester, someone needs to tie Erling down, So like that's what needs to happen. He needs to meet a lovely little lady somewhere from Old Iliad or something like that, and they'll lock him down. He'll be very happy, and he'll have a little kid called Liam or something like that. I don't know, Liam Haaland or I don't know. And he'll be very happy, and he'll hang around, and like he'll just become look. People forget as well, like big life changes, and moving your whole family, moving to another country. It doesn't matter how successful you are. Big life changes, they take a lot of effort mentally. Like people don't like everyone go, oh, he could leave to Madrid in a few years. You could also get to the point where it's like, I'm sort of happy, and you have to have so much will to want to move somewhere where you're happy. And look at it's like how Bernardo. We're not stupid. We all know Bernardo would possibly move right now, but the point is, he's not forcing it open because ultimately he's sort of happy as well at the same time. So it's like it's very hard to move from a club like Manchester City where they treat you so well, and ultimately he's not going to be given a reason to want to go. You'll have to really want it, like aggressively, and this is why I always admire City's approach of like, if you want to go, you can go. Because what they're saying there is like, if you want to go, you can go, but you just got to bring us money. We respect you. And what they really want, most people want, is the club to do it for them. But City aren't going to do it for them. No, you're an adult, go and do it. And what happens then is usually they just, not like they can't be arsed, but it's just a lot of effort. So people end up staying around because it's the same way people never get around to doing the fucking kitchen, or they don't get around to going, oh, in a few years' time we'll do that. Like, people usually choose the path of least resistance, and it's the same with millionaire footballers because they are just human beings with more money. So like, eventually we forget that the most likely scenario if Man City carry on being successful is that Haaland just stays, because that is what usually well-run clubs happens for the players. It's the reason Benzema's been at Madrid for so long, the reason that all those Barcelona players so long, the reason that Aguero and Kompany stayed so long, and the reason that all those United legends years ago stayed so long. Because it was easy.
KDB at City.
They're not moving
Look
because
at how long he's been at City.
They're not moving because they get paid a lot of money. They get that anywhere. They're staying because they're happy and it's easy and it works and the family. They don't want to move the little kids around. They don't want to move the children and change schools, and we forget about all that. So there's a very good chance they just stay because they're all right, and that's like we underestimate that side to it, don't we?
I think for in terms of legacy and brand as well, I think that there's something to be said for Benzema's legacy.
Just seen my wife, by the way. Wife just said, "Shall I take one for the team and lock him down?" Kidding. You better fucking not. We've got our own superstar to build. No, as intimidated physically I am by him. I'm not intimidated that way, thankfully. But anyway, you were saying something before that. Legacy. And so we're talking about legacy.
Yeah. So like you look at Benzema and what his legacy will be at Madrid. You look at KDB, what his legacy will be at City. I think that there's Haaland could get to a point where 4 or 5 years into his City career, he goes, you know what? If I stay here for another 5 years, I'll be the greatest footballer that the Premier League has ever seen. Yeah.
And that matters.
I'll break all the records. Yeah. I'll break every Premier League record going. I can see the timing, the age-wise, development-wise, the timing is perfect because he took a step at Dortmund, which was a big step. And by taking that step, pushing them as close as you could get them to the title, to Bayern Munich, almost becoming the focal point, becoming their most important player. This, for me, Haaland moving to City is Cristiano Ronaldo moving from Man United to Real Madrid. That's literally what this is. And so, for me, I can see him staying a really long time. Absolutely not concerned about him leaving.
People always forget as well, because we look, and rightfully so, people look at Real Madrid and all that kind of stuff differently, because Real Madrid are probably the biggest club in the world, status profile. But people forget, and there's a resistance from maybe other fans of the clubs, like City are fucking brilliant. Like City are a massive club, and is the ultimate point of City that they just might want to be here because he might just want to stay and play for possibly the team that future generations see as the next Real Madrid because of the success, because of Aguero, because of Guardiola and De Bruyne. We forget that they want to be here because of the City's. Like, we haven't got the legacy in terms of success in the Champions League, but we are developing that legacy, and that's so. The last 10-15 years, it's been City, there. So we forget that. We are just seen in the way that people presume we're not by some of us, go on.
If you can keep Pep Guardiola for as long as we've kept Pep for, there's something very special.
You're a super
about
club.
This.
Yeah,
about this football club. It's just that simple. There's something very special about City, and I think the other thing, we don't know it from the outside, but if you talk to people inside football, I'm talking about players and agents, right? Mostly, anybody who gets an offer from City wants to move to City. Why? Because the reputation of City inside football is incredible. Because players talk to players, and the players that play at City go, "This is the best club in the world to play for. The facilities are incredible. You get paid really, really well. You get fully respected by everybody at the club and the supporters. You've got no reason to leave.
There's no sassiness or bitchiness. So there's no petty arrogance that you get in a lot of clubs, or just naivety, or there's so much assumptions at other clubs like United that will continue to be the best. No, you won't. Or that we can. Like I was at a stag do at the weekend, so I was obviously with fans of clubs from everywhere, including an Ajax from the Netherlands and Liverpool fan, United fan. We're all chatting about football. You do blah 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 blah, and they're all throwing daggers at City. I did do in a nice, friendly, bantery way. But the one thing it could always turn around is I every time I went back to him, I was like, well, you can't deny that City are brilliantly run, and they're all like, yeah. They all begrudgingly accepted that. So even fans who wanted to give so much fucking throne, they're all like, yeah, and they're all like, United fans were jealous that City are run as well as they are, and what they were referring to that is how we look after the players and how we look after them, and how we have a plan, and we buy players for, and they even admitted like we buy players for 50-60 million that end up being worth more, and they just fit the team, and they're just right. And like players are just aware of this. Like the agents want their players to go to these clubs, and because once again we are the place where the best players go now. And the longer it goes
squad building is not easy, right?
It's very difficult.
Squad building isn't about just going and picking the shiniest toys, right? the best players in every position. It doesn't work like that, because you have to think about personalities. You have to think about development. You have to think about how a player will assimilate into your dressing room, how he'll assimilate with his teammates. You have to think about a lot of different things, how he'll live his life off the pitch, all of those things. And I think that's why players like staying at City, because generally, it's not always the case, because nobody's perfect, but generally players get better at City because of the players around them, And so everybody knows that you come here, you're going to be playing with KDB, with Bernardo, with Raz, with Rodri.
Getting paid handsomely to do it, you're going to win some trophies. Even if you don't get a team, you're going to win some trophies. Like, I mean, even Vake decided he wanted to go this summer. Like, he's like, I had a pretty good time, Like, I still won. Like, I was still involved in. And once again, going back to that point earlier about how we tell players if they want to go, they can go. Like, the players will know when they sign. Like, look, if it doesn't work out for me, they'll respect me and let me go for a reasonable fee. Like, there's power in that. When people go, why did we let him go? Like, because when you get clubs who hold him against the ransom, there's bad blood, and then other clubs and other players don't trust him, and agents don't trust him, and it's intelligent. City run the club in a way that literally no one else does in the world. It's super intelligent.
Absolutely. And even the release clause, right? So it's 200. It's more than 200 million euros after 2 years, and it's more than 175 million euros after 3 years. The price is set. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't even have to, like, that release clause. People look at it negatively. I look at it really positively.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, one, if a player wants to go, he wants to go. There's now what you can do about that. What you want then is you want to make sure that you get value for money.
That's more than 3 times what we paid. More than 3 times.
Exactly. You're talking about an insane amount of money to pay in one go. There's very few clubs on the planet that will be able to do that.
Well, if it's more than 200 million euros, that would be the highest of all time after Neymar, wouldn't it, or something like that? So, like, something like that, or is it...
I think Neymar's release clause was 215 or 220.
Stupid. I think Mbappe was similar from Monaco, wasn't it? Something stupid like that. But either way, you're looking at one of the biggest transfers of all time that happened. So, like, I don't worry about that anyway, for all the reasons we talked about earlier. A few more super chats. I want to say thank you to Darcy, if you can remember. Darcy, you're a legend. I've seen you chatting away as well. Abdullah Al-Mazraoui, just with the compliments, saying Ahsan looking good always, man, looking clean. I love that. I love a crisp white t-shirt always. I think it's just such an elegant look, generally. So there you go. Angela for saying Haaland and Foden, I'm gassed, mate. We all are. Like, I can't wait to watch that develop. And do you know what? Foden's excited. Haaland's excited. They're excited to play with each other. Of course they are. Like, they absolutely can't wait, because then they're once again, like, in the way that Grealish which I do love about him, by the way. Like, he was so obviously like, I can't wait to play with KDB. I love that humility for that. But these two absolutely will, like, they will want to play with each other, and they know. Someone just said, big up from a brand new City fan. Welcome, man. Like, you've chosen a good time, so well done. Welcome to the good Learers. You're very lucky. What else is there? Oh, Caleb counted the point earlier about Bellingham. We talked about the fee. He said to count Liverpool going for Bellingham, they just spent 100 million euros, so it's a good point. They'll have to wait a season to spend again, given recent history. Yeah, maybe they can't do it again, given it'll take a couple of years to get there. So that's a good point, man. But they can't. I guess they've proven they will spend it, like, so maybe it isn't too rich for them. Maybe it's just too rich too soon for them, like maybe 2 years from now or something like that. And what else? Scott said, sorry if it was mentioned passively while working. What is your confidence level of Pep extending his contract? I'll get to that in a second, actually, because Darcy also said rival fans don't really know how to take this. All of a sudden, Haaland is Timo Werner 2.0 and overrated, while Darwin Núñez is on his level. They're just thrashing around because it's called out. It's denial. It's denial, isn't it? Like, isn't it?
Block that noise out.
It's denial. Like, I mean, look, my honest opinion is, Núñez is probably a good player. Might even be a very good player one day. He might be, but he's never gonna be. He's the best he'd be would be world class, but world class are always all timers. Like, he might be one of the best forwards in the game at some point of the current time. But Haaland, we're talking about a guy who will remember in the way that Messi's Ronaldo is remembered. So it's a different level. It's a different level entirely. But back to Scott's point, he said sorry it was mentioned. But what is your confidence level of Pep extending his contract? Ahsan, where do you feel about Pep?
Yeah, Pep's staying. I'm not worried about Guardiola leaving. I don't think that. Yeah, I'm not worried. I think he's got a really good relationship with Khaldoon, Cheeky, and Soriano. It's just he's said himself there is no better place in the world for him to do his job.
Yeah,
they're They're giving him the tools that he needs to do his job. You're telling me he's not going to want to have 2 or 3 years with Haaland and Foden and, you know what I mean, the team that he's building. Like, it's
imagine got an Alvarez gels. Imagine Cole
exactly.
Palmer carries on his progression. Like all these young
Exactly.
players, they don't like unfinished business people like Guardiola, do they? And like, what do you make of the general? So what? Because obviously, I think there's a fair question to ask in terms of like how he did the whole. Like, everyone presumed he was about to extend, then he did. Oh, I'll let him know towards the end of the next season. Something like during the season, I'll see how I'm feeling. So it's not like the goalpost moved because he never set them. But what did you make of his comments with that? What did you interpret that as when he was saying, "I don't know yet. I'll see in a few months from now or whatever"?
I think. Honestly, I think it's clever, and the reason I think it's clever is because Guardiola's a difficult man to deal with on a day-to-day basis. If you're a player, he likes to keep his squad. He likes to remain distant from his squad. He's very, Catalonian in that sense. It's they're quite closed as a culture. And he's typical Catalonian in that sense, and keeps his distance from his players. And I just think it's a smart way to keep everybody on their toes, including the people who pay your wages. Ultimately, I'm confident that Guardiola will extend. That's not something that I worry about at all, because I've seen that he's let his contract go into its final 12 months a couple of times and then gone, all right, I'm doing it now. And I think it will be the same. And I think that there's trust on both sides. That's the key thing.
I agree. The way I've always thought about it is it's either that. It could also, Pep can just be awkward sometimes. He's like, don't tell me when to extend it, I'll extend when I want to. Because like Pep's and it's a big dick energy move. It's Pep Guardiola. Like he will tell you, I'll extend when I'm ready, when I want to. And there's just a power that he's got, if I'm being honest. And like he also could do it just once again to plant the questions for a few months. Like let me concentrate on the football. Guardiola could say that, and then City could announce it next week. And like just because he just gets the heat off him, if that makes sense. And like you just like Pep, but then at the same time he does all those things as you said, where he's like, I couldn't be happier to be here, and there's no better place in the world football to be. Like he's not saying that for no reason, like he's almost like he's hinting but saying, I'm not going to tell you though. Like or I'll deal with it when I need to deal with it. And like, let
me make a prediction: when Guardiola leaves City, it'll get announced at Christmas, and his replacement will get announced in January. Straight up, I don't think that there's no other way. For City are super well run. They're very professional. Everybody gets along with everybody else. Nobody's going to be quietly negotiating.
He's not going to fuck them over.
Right?
No chance.
He's never going to do that.
They're friends, aren't they? They're friends.
Exactly. So for me, when it happens, it'll happen pretty quickly and pretty. In the end, nothing lasts forever, right? Mm-hmm. There will come a day, where Pep Guardiola will leave City, but for me, it's almost certain it won't be at the end of next season. I think he'll want to do 10 years. I think that he will eventually end up doing 10, and that'll be a nice round number.
He's not going to get close to that and not do it. Like it just, like I can't see him extending for 3 years and not doing the extra one to get to 10. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. I agree. I think he'll get to 10, and he's a worry that we could be too good, win the Champions League in that year. Then he'd be like, "Well, I can go," and I'd be like, "No, double-edged sword kind of thing."
No, but it's like I remember. Wow, what year was it? It must have been like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Whenever around the Lyon game, right? That season.
No, it's 2019. 2020, maybe.
Yeah.
It was like years ago.
Or maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was the year before, but like there was a lot of like rumors, that Guardiola feels like if he wins the Champions League, his job is done and he's leaving. And I remember at the time thinking, that's fucking nonsense. What are you talking about? Like, football managers, but people inside football, real top managers, they're thinking about next season.
Yeah, no, you're
right.
Right.
You won the title, you give it 1 hour, and then you're thinking about next season, how you can be better.
It's an addiction.
You look at how close.
It's an addiction. Like.
Exactly. Look at how close Liverpool ran us this season. To me, it's absurd, the idea that Pep goes, oh well, this is too easy. I've done what I need to do. I'm out of here. But he's just not.
For what it's worth, I guess what I meant more was it was just almost like he he was. I get to the point where he's like, I've done a long time here, and then it's almost like that's a perfect ending, and there's a narrative as opposed to like. But I think in general, you're right. I think like when you look at Guardiola's history, and we can do that, thankfully, he's only ever left the club when he's not really that happy there. That's the 2 times he's left the club is because Barca were a fucking mess, you know, like a political mess, and then he left Bayern because they just didn't want him. Like there was so much nonsense from the legends of the club that were just. They felt too good for, or they were almost maybe they got fucking alpha male and they didn't like that Guardiola didn't give a shit what they thought and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Either way, those two places did not look after him, you know, to the extent that. Whereas I know for a fact Guardiola is the king at Manchester City. Like he runs the club, you know, and rightfully so. When you're that good, go for it. I'm not saying obviously he makes every decision, but like no, they bend over backwards to Guardiola. Like you know, there's that famous joke about Cheeky said that they'd build him a house wherever he wanted it, and like. That's true. They would do that, you know, just get him there or whatever. And to what it's worth, like I think he's staying. Like we all saw that interview. Well, we saw the photo of him anyway with the sheikh, and look, that was a happy man, wasn't it? That was a man who's been looked after.
Yeah, it's just these guys are thinking. These guys are planning in 2-3 year cycles, in my opinion. So I don't see. Anytime soon that Guardiola goes, I want to leave. He's got another squad to build. Remember there was like this moment where people were going like, but has Guardiola ever built a squad? Has he ever refreshed
done it twice
squad?
Already now? Like
you know what I mean? It's like his evolution at City. I think you know you can almost look at 2 or 3 different phases to his.
We've had 3 different teams already, in my opinion. Look at the 17-18 side, and then it evolved the season after to be a lot more gritty, determined. Then we have the false 9 side, and this is going to be different again next season. Like I was chatting earlier on a live stream, like the way the City play next season there's going to be so much variation potentially. If we wanted to, presume we sign Cucurella, you know, and we get all of a sudden we've got a literal proper overlapping left back, and then if we wanted something a bit varied, we can put Cancelo at the right back. So we've got 2 overlapping full backs. So then you go, all right, we'll play the inverted wingers. Grealish and Mahrez play, and they cut in. All of a sudden, totally different to how we played in a long time, you know. Or then we go for Foden and Sterling out wide because we got Haaland in the middle, and like we've not had styles like that for ages because we've not had the players to do it, you know. Like so,
the adaptability comes from adding Haaland, and then suddenly you don't need a false 9. So suddenly you've got all of these different variations that you can play behind an out-and-out goal scorer. It's mouth-watering, mate.
And I think that actually ultimately as well is what gets Guardiola out of bed, you know? Like Guardiola is the kind of mind that you do not need to let get bored. It rarely does. He's far too intelligent. But you give him new players, you give him excitement, you know, you give him challenges. And I think he's a natural teacher. Of course he is. If you watch him talk about football, it comes alive. And look, if you find the ways to ignite Guardiola's passion and give him different things, he'll stay. Of course he will, because he's happy. And and when you bring in the players that we're talking about, I think we all know the 4 names that could be in the squad next season. 2 of them already here. Phillips and Cucurella are mentioned. Like that's an overhaul. That's like a lot of the squad when you think about it. That's like 20% of it. No, just something that my maths is off there, but it's a lot of the squad. And then you know, young players can come through, and that once again is like you say you refresh not when you're on top, so things don't get stale. And that's not just for the squad; it's also for the manager. You know, you got a great manager. Give them a reason to get out of bed and think about things. Give them a reason to be excited again. And it's probably what kept Ferguson at United for so long, because once again they had different players and different players came through and he signed more. And you need to you need something to bang your head against and have challenges and so on. And I think Guardiola will be well excited to start coaching, you know, all these new players because they bring different personalities and different excitement. And that's energy, isn't it? It's energy, and they'll be so eager to impress Guardiola that not that he needs motivation, but it'll just get him going again. And I can't wait to see Guardiola next season get into these players. How are you feeling?
And look,
go on.
You've got Ten Hag coming in at United. You've got Tuchel already at Chelsea. You've got Klopp at Liverpool. You've got Conte at Spurs. If you're a football manager, right, where do you want to coach? You want to coach
with the pride and that Guardiola's got as well. And he does. That man is a proud man, and he wants to be the best. He wants to
be the best in the best league.
He's not going over to Italy now to go away from the best managers. He wants to be the best league with the best players, because like he looks like he's not like no one ever says he's ran away, but like imagine the thrill he gets from beating those coaches, man. Like I can't. And it's gonna be great. How are you feeling about the other signings then? Like obviously Cucurella linked, Phillips linked. Do you think they'll happen?
I think Phillips happens next, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I see stories are breaking that Leeds are close to signing
Is
a
it
lad
Rocker
from Bayern.
or something?
Yeah, Rocker from Bayern. That's for me the domino that falls, and I think then City will close Phillips, and then I think Cucurella might be a little bit linked to Zinchenko's future. I do believe that they will let Zinchenko decide what he wants to do, right? And if he goes, okay, I want to go and play as a midfielder at West Ham or Arsenal, or I'm sure he'll have loads of teams from across Europe.
His value's on the up, isn't it? And I'm very happy for him, actually, for what it's worth. Like, he's
me too.
The world's really and there may be an element of circumstance and tragic world issues that probably draw attention to him, but his performance issue as well. Like, you can't question his character, can you? And what he's given to this club, and I think people are realizing, God, this is a fucking good footballer. Then the extent of his abilities for Ukraine as well, enjoying those games, and he was brilliant. He was immense. So I think his profile now, he's in a good position, isn't he? I think, because he's obviously loved the Man City, and he deserves it.
And I think and this is something that maybe people get the wrong end of the stick with me, because I've been saying for about 4 or 5 months that I think this is the summer that Zinchenko and Jesus should go, right? And I don't say that because I don't rate them or I think they're shit or anything like that. No, they're too good to sit on a bench for 3/4 of a Premier League season. It's that simple, yeah. And that's a reality. That's the way that it's been over the last couple of seasons. Like, they are not regulars in City's team, and they would absolutely be regulars in 99% of the other top level football teams on the planet. So, if an offer comes in, if Zinchenko has to drop down to West Ham level, but they say you'll play every game, I can see him being motivated by that. I can see him being motivated by that. I can also see him going, actually, I love it at City, I don't want to go. So,
there's a real chance that he just enjoys the culture at Man City, and how everyone respects him and looks after him and so on. We'll have to see how it goes with it, but where it comes from me in terms of those, if they want to go, I don't mind. I don't mind players wanting to go personally. I almost don't. As you get attached to players, but I almost get excited by what's next, and I think that's exciting, and it's change, it's fun. You love watching players 7, 8, 9 years, but sometimes you do look watching a new player, I think that's fine. Ultimately, football's entertainment for us as fans, and seeing players move on is heartbreaking, but at the same time, the shock of the news is great fun, seeing a fresh face and come in, and I'd be interested. So, do you think Cucurella is relatively based on Zinni, or do you think there's a chance that they both could be?
I think so.
Okay.
I can't see her. I mean, we have room in the squad. So in terms of squad numbers and foreign players and all that sort of business, there's definitely room to sign Cucurella without Sinchenko going. But then if you sign Cucurella, I presume you sign him to play him. Yeah. So then that's even less games for Zinchenko. It's that simple. So I think they'll do Phillips first. I'm sure they'll do Phillips first because they are talking to Leeds now. So you would expect that if they're signing a player in the same position, that City will end up getting that deal done. And then from there I think Jesus and Zinchenko, it will be interesting to see when they go. I think Jesus will definitely go.
I think City expect him to go. I think City expect him to go. Yeah. They've obviously not given Haaland's number away because they're obviously waiting to see what. We're not exactly. You don't have to be a fucking genius to work that out. It's so obvious. There's absolutely no way they're going to miss out on the obvious City club shop marketing opportunity of announcing Haaland and having his shirt right there. The only reason they wouldn't do that is because they don't know yet, and they don't know yet because they're waiting for a certain player to go. So it's going to be 9 or 15, and I think it will end up being number 9 because I think Jesus, I think they would have been chosen already. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think from everything I've read, it's very clear from all of the kind of briefings from Jesus's camp. It's very clear he's told the club he wants to leave this summer. Yeah. So, and it's not like it's a strong, I want to leave this summer. I've got options. Yeah. And the fee is more or less set in terms of what City want. Mm-hmm. And now it's just a dance to see how close to that fee they can get.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's inevitable. And I actually think it's the right call for everyone, really. As much as Jesus is great, I just think, you can go, oh, but we'll lose his work rate and all this kind of stuff. But, yeah, that's true. And he has got quality and was great towards the end of the season. But if he's thinking about it, he's probably making the right call. He seems like a sensible bloke. And, I think, to be honest, we'd be the space for Jesus is just getting smaller and smaller because obviously Guardiola's going to be drawn to Haaland and probably even Alvarez because they are, once again, the exciting new players and so on. I kind of actually, I'm always curious to see him go in a good way as well. I want to see what he does somewhere else. I'm quite excited. I've got a deep down theory that actually he annoyingly could do really well somewhere else because I feel like stepping out of the shadow of that, he was always in the Guardiola shadow and never really got out of it even after he left because I want to see him freed up a little bit. I'm fascinated. Just as long as he doesn't do well against City, but I think he probably will do.
I feel the same for both of them. I feel exactly the same with Zinchenko. I feel as though, I want to see what his ceiling is. We'll never figure out what his ceiling is at City. I think that he needs to go and play regularly somewhere to know just how good he is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think someone was asking, does that logic not apply to Guardiola or something about change? No, Guardiola doesn't. He's not on the pitch playing football. I don't watch it. So I talked about I like seeing change and stuff. No, that's obviously not the same with Guardiola. The coach, he's the best coach, but I like seeing change in the players because they're the ones who do the actual fun stuff. So that's different. It's like me going, I wish they changed the production company for my favorite show. No, of course I don't. I like new plots, but I don't want the people making the show, to change because obviously they're great. But either way, Ahsan, someone just said we go for a winger. Rohan is a super chat said if we go for a winger, do we go for a winger if Jesus and Sterling leave? That's a big question.
Sterling's not leaving.
Is that where you're at with Sterling?
Sterling's not leaving. Where's he going?
I agree. No,
where's he going?
That's it. You have to start from the conclusion, then work out what's going to happen. Who's going to buy Sterling? Even if you think he should go, even if you don't want him to go, you have to look, actually plan it out. And he knows he's not going. You can already tell, in my opinion, because it's so quiet, isn't it?
Yeah. So Real Madrid can't sign a non-EU player. That's why they can't sign Gabriel Jesus. Yep. That's why they can't sign Raheem Sterling, right? So
you sell someone, don't you, first or something like that?
Yeah. Well, no, because they're non-EU players. Militao, Vinicius, Rodrigo.
None of them are going, are they?
None of them are going. So there's no room for a non-EU player.
That's mad, isn't it? That we're just not an EU. That's crazy. Brexit, really
welcome to Brexit.
Yeah,
welcome to post-Brexit life.
The only good thing is I've got so many stamps in my passport, and the stamps are pretty, but that's it. That's the only positive I can think of. Fucking hell. What did you say before that?
Yeah. So, and I don't. Obviously, a lot of people disagree with me, but I think there is absolutely no chance that Raheem Sterling goes to another Premier League club. Why would he? To play 10 extra games a season and win square root of fuck all.
I think that's desperate.
Why would he do
that's a desperation move, isn't it? I don't see him desperate.
Brand Sterling would benefit more from staying at City, continuing to win titles, continuing to be part of the best team of the last decade, more than it would to go to Chelsea or to Arsenal or even to Liverpool, right? And playing 10 games more a season and not winning. Yeah, being in the shadow of the mighty Man City. It's not, my personal feeling is that he'll sign a contract this summer. I think what's happened
this summer
this summer. I think what's happened in the last few weeks with the stories about, Real Madrid want him, Chelsea want him, all the top clubs have been alerted to the fact that he's ready for a new challenge. That's all posturing because there's a contract negotiation coming in the next week, 10 days. And I think
that's interesting. Because my theory actually is that he stays, but I think he doesn't sign a contract. I think the football goes really well for him. I think he fits into the team with Haaland there, and he ends up just going, did he sort it out by January or something like that? That's what I've always thought would happen. But I don't think he goes either way this summer. I feel that he's probably being told just to hang around and see what happens, and he's in a position of strength in a year from now.
I guess my only feeling on that is that you have to be of a certain mind to let your contract run into the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Right? Because football, anything can happen, right? You do your cruise ship, what happens next? Yeah. Like it's facts. Like what happens next if you've not got a contract and you do your cruise shit in January? That's that puts you in a very, very, very incredibly precarious position. I think as a footballer at the stage of his career that Raheem's in, if he's minded to leave, yeah, that's a completely different conversation. But for him to be minded to leave, somebody has to make the argument to me that these are the reasons why he would want to leave. And, a change of scenery is not a reason for him to leave the best football club in England. I think for him to want to leave City, something has to break down. I think
it's only about football, in my opinion. I think it's just generally
100%.
It's literally that. I think he's been in and out of team, and his pride's been hit a little bit, as understandably as he would do, because at one point he was asking to be one of the highest paid players in the team, rightfully so, for what it's worth, absolutely, because he was fucking. People forget because they got such short memories. Like literally, you go and just Google Ronaldo, Messi, Sterling. Look at all the articles where everyone was questioning who was in that bracket because he was scoring that many goals. So he was there, and he was obviously asking for loads, and then. Look, it doesn't really ultimately matter, but like his form, some people say dips, whatever, I don't know. But either way, he didn't play as much as he probably wanted to under Guardiola. That was the end result, and I always felt it's about that. I think he wants to make sure he's starting every single big game, and he starts a lot of them.
Absolutely. I think the big thing with Raz is that I think he will know how Haaland stepping into that team changes the dynamic of what is asked of the wide players. I think that when we had Aguero, right? If you think about Sterling, Sane, Aguero, they scored bucket loads of goals, but also there wasn't that pressure for them to score goals because Aguero was there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on this page always.
Perfectly complemented what was around them, and I think that with Sterling, you've got a guy who will be looking at what Haaland is and going, well, you know what? I'm better suited to lining up the bullets for him to shoot than Riyadh is. He'll look at it like that. He'll go, I'm that type of player.
He actually is, in my opinion, as well. What we need from Sterling is to do exactly what he did against Aston Villa to Gundogan every week. Just like beat his man, beat his man, create chaos in the area, but cross. And if he does that, like, he feasts.
Another thing on Sterling, I think that we tend to view. It goes back to the conversation we were having about characters, right? What type of the kind of how do you assimilate into a dressing room? What is the dressing room like? Who are the important players in the dressing room? Why are they important? What standards do they set in training? How do they behave on the pitch? How do they behave off the pitch? Sterling is a model professional. Do you know what I mean? He's a guy who young players look up to. Yeah. The senior players respect him. He's well loved in the dressing room. He's not a talker in the way that some of the others might be talkers, but he's got the type of presence that you don't England international. Like, I mean,
no, you're right. He's senior. He's whatever we look at it, he's a senior, well-respected footballer within the game. Like that matters, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think ultimately, and I'm not just saying this because everybody knows that like I'm a Sterling stan, right? Everybody knows that. Like, I love Raz. I think that my love for him, and people forget this, my love for him goes back to the fact that he forced a move out of Liverpool to come to City. And you look at the shit that he took for that, right? And what he went through.
Oh, it changed his life, actually. It changed it. It opened him up to fucking years of abuse from the press, and we forget
abuse.
He made himself a sacrificial lamb to, like...
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't not respect that. You can't not respect that. You can't not love that. And then you look at subsequently what he's done in his City career. I think he's earned a little bit more respect than is floating around right now.
I absolutely agree. And I think I think that stands for true, even if you think he should be here anymore or not. I think he's told him there's more respect than people give him broadly. I mean, I don't ever mind if someone wants someone to go, because there's many good reasons for that. It could be just because you just fancy. It could be something stupid. You just want a different player. But like that's silly. But I still think he deserves more respect, even in that instance. So back to Haaland. We'll finish it off on this one. Are you how do I phrase this question? I guess I'll just go very bluntly. How many do you think he scores next season, man? Like, is he straight into the team from the start and successful
Yes.
and scoring straight away? Like, and also
He'll score in the Charity Shield against Liverpool.
he wins as us, probably doesn't he? I reckon. Like,
Yeah, he'll score in the Charity Shield against Liverpool, and that'll be it. It'll be off.
how does he affect the Champions League?
Game changer, complete game changer. In those knockout, in those, and not just in the Champions League, right? In the biggest games, coming up against Liverpool, coming up against Chelsea, coming up against.
I so agree, mate. I so agree. Absolutely.
Even if you have a resurgent United, right, and they get all their recruitment right, Haaland is the difference maker. Guardiola made a point of saying last year, we don't have a player who can score like Messi, like Ronaldo. Yeah. We have to share the goals around, right? Now he's been given a player that can score like Messi, like Ronaldo, like Mbappe, and he's being put into a team that is already functioning at the highest level inside European football. It's just, his impact will be immediate. His impact will be enormous. And how many goals will he score? I'm going to say he gets 40 goals across all competitions next season.
Yeah, I don't think you're. I don't think you're wrong at all. We talk a lot about like, people talk about strikers like that as in, like Ronaldo's got a big game mentality and stuff like that. No, they don't. They don't. The only mentality they've got is scoring goals in every game, always. Like it's not like the implication of that is that they step up in big games. No, they just carry on doing what they always do, regardless of who they play against. And what the reason they score so many goals is just because they're a great finisher, not because they find an extra 10% in games like that. It's just because that is who they are, and that's what I'm excited for Haaland. Is that it doesn't matter, and there's literal statistical proof. It doesn't matter who he's playing for or who he's against. He takes chances with the same killer instinct. He's done it for Norway. He's done it for Salzburg. He's done it for Dortmund. He literally, at one point, he had was it 7 goals in 3 games in the Champions League as like a 19-year-old or something like that. Like, he's got 1 goal a game for Norway. Who does that, man?
You know
with all
what?
due respect to him. Go on.
You know what I want to see? I want to see how his right foot develops in the next year or two. I bet you in 18 months' time, we're sat here saying that the kid can finish with left or right. Doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Put it either side, he'll absolutely smash it. Because that's what I mean about improvement and development and mentality. He's got the mentality where he's going to go, I want to be the best in the world. How do I get better?
We can do anything.
Exactly.
But people forget as well, Ronaldo, for example, he wasn't always this great header. He developed that because he wanted to. And he started hanging in the air, and that's true. Like, Haaland, apparently, one of his weaknesses always that he wasn't that great in the air. It's more because the game was played on the floor with Dortmund. But I've saw him score recently a couple of good headed goals. And he's obviously going to get better at that because that will be perceived as a weakness, and he'll be aware that he's going to be playing with people like Mahrez and De Bruyne who are going to clip crosses into. So he'll get better because he will. So I absolutely agree. I think we look at some of the games that we lost this season and we just win them. Like, we beat Liverpool in the league. We do beat them in the league instead of drawing. We beat Real Madrid. We were better when we played our strongest team, in my opinion, in both games against Liverpool. I think we were just better.
Yeah.
We were better, and the only reason they didn't, they got points against us because we didn't take chances. Literally, time and time again. And by my logic, I can't prove it, and people will laugh at me because we didn't get there. But by my logic, there is that if we have a finisher, we beat Madrid. And I've just said if we have our strongest team finisher, we beat Liverpool. So what does that tell you? That means we win the Champions League. And by deduction, I'm not saying we're going to because football's crazy, everything happen, but we have no flaws anymore. Then that ultimately means we eventually, if we carry on going in 2-3 years, we're probably going to get to the final or two. And then the chances, when you've got someone like Haaland, you win it because he takes those chances that it comes so easy to him, which is scary. But I love it. Go on.
It is. I think, as much as I really love the Champions League as a competition, it's still a knockout competition, right? And the beauty of knockout football is that anything can happen on any given night. And I think that, your star striker is suspended for a game, right? And suddenly the dynamic shifts slightly and it gives the opposition a little bit of a bounce. So I don't think that you can, I think that what you've got to do is you've got to look at, just like you said, addressing your weaknesses so that you feel as though you have a squad that is not has not got a weakness when you come up against Real Madrid, when you come up against Liverpool, when you come up against Atletico Madrid, come up against Bayern, you feel that you don't have a weakness. We have felt for 2 years. We said this last summer, me and you said it last summer, that not signing a striker, where it would, the only place where you really feel it might come and bite you in the arse is in the last stages of the Champions League or in the biggest games against teams like Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree.
You need, the goal out of nothing. Like I think about Salah's goal at the Etihad. Was it at the Etihad or was it at Anfield? Which way round was it? It was at Anfield. Salah's goal at Anfield in the draw earlier this season, where it's just like, that's a madness, that goal is, right?
Yeah.
They should have been down 10 men. Should have been down 10 men in both games. They were very lucky that they managed. And I think in the second game against Liverpool this season, I think we were happy with the point. I think at that point, with the way that the league had played out and where we were, because we were in the driving seat, we knew they have to come here and beat us for it to be in their hands. So I think subconsciously the draw, we would have been happy with that draw. But yeah, I think that having Haaland, you have a guy that can score a goal out of nothing, and that puts the fear of God in the opposition.
He scores the kind of chances that Aguero scored.
Yeah, which aren't chances. They're not chances.
Like my favourite Aguero goal I've mentioned it a few times, probably two of his goals against Liverpool. The one where he put it in for a stupid angle against Reina, but then the one where he put it in in the highest quality game I've ever seen, probably. The one where he put it with his left foot on the roof of the net. Like, they aren't chances. They're just a finisher who has one main attribute. They can just twat the ball really hard into the back of the net from any angle, and that's what Haaland is. He's that same guy. Like, some people are just really fucking good at kicking the ball very hard into the back of the net, and that's what Aguero does, and that's what Haaland does as well. And you can't stop those players.
First, if it's true that the first game of the season is Bournemouth at home, right?
Rest in
peace. Hat trick on his debut. I'm putting some money down on that as well. A debut hattie for him, because they're all going to be lining up to serve him. Do you know what I mean? KDB, Foden, Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling, whoever's playing, they're all going to be lining up to assist Haaland, because everybody. That's the thing. The lift he gives everyone at the club, all the players, whoever's on the pitch with him, the lift he gives all of them is just immeasurable. Like, they've just done 2 seasons where, you saw in the Villa game that they'd run out of legs, that it was almost a fucking game too far. Do you know what I mean? Because City have to score the perfect goal, and so you've just got to be perfect, and you've just got to be in that rhythm, and it's just mental the amount of games that you have to play at that level to get 90 odd points, right? Haaland removes loads of that pressure.
Of course he does.
Removes loads of that pressure.
You can just cross it if you want to. That's a perfectly fine, obvious tactic.
Exactly.
You can really simplify your game, and it works because he's 6'5". It's stupid.
Think about Edison's kicking, right? So think about what Edison can do, and then think about him launching balls towards Haaland. Think about that as a weapon.
Sprinter.
Do you know what I mean?
And he's stupidly big and strong, and he bundles past people. Oh, it's stupid. Guys, by the way, please do hit the like button if you don't mind. And I'm also going to give some love for 9320 as well in the chat. I'm going to copy and paste it about 1 billion times. But if you haven't already, obviously Ahsan and the wonderful gents over there, and Howard and Stefan and Steve and Lloyd and so on, they do great work over there. It's like this chat, but with actually people more intelligent than me constantly every single day. So go on actually.
Mate, when are you coming on a 9320 pod?
Whenever you want me.
I've done loads of your videos. I'm like, wait a minute.
Whenever you want me. You just literally ask me and I'll come. So it's a routine thing, isn't it? You get so used to saying people like, I'll do it 9320, any man.
Yeah.
But go check out 9320. It's fantastic. And I know I kept saying a little bit late today, but either way, I'll wind up here, man. Like, this is the good timeline, isn't it? This is Haaland, and it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and we've got. some signings make you feel like a little kid again, and that's what he does. It feels like Christmas, man. It's wonderful. Ahsan, you're a legend, man. I've really enjoyed that. It's been a great chat always. Everyone, of course, awesome. It was great. It was great fun. Go and check out 9320. I put it in all the comments. It's in the description. I'm spamming it now. Click that link. Go and give him some support. Go and subscribe. And sub to 9320. It's brilliant, as always. And so is Ahsan, of course. You know, I tweet about him all the time. Go and give him a follow as well if you want to. Ahsan, mate, we're feasting good, and I'm sure I'll catch you very, very soon in a bit, pal.
Definitely. Cheers, mate.
See you later. Guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. There'll be loads more content tomorrow coming about Haaland, because why not? In a bit, guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.